So yeah, I was wondering about this tendency that we have in Latin America to prefer or like advantage or we would tend to incline more towards narratives that are unified, like because that's actually more natural to our it's more natural to us. It's more natural to the human psyche, you know. And why do we want that? It's like we all want that kind of unification that everybody is a part of, or everybody is guided to this narrative. Um, like the all of the, we. I wouldn't say citizens. I wouldn't utilize that word because citizens, the word citizen, my own perspective, and I believe that's actually the classic or the normal uh, acception of that word is that citizen, it's somebody that's free, somebody that makes their own decision, and not necessarily it's guided by a kind of narrative. So in this other unified narrative that we have, it's that we are so anxious to pertain to some kind of body, and I think it's really, when I say this, that we try to pertain to this body, that it's unified by this head. Um, it's something that it's more natural to us, to humans, but also, it's like we in Latin America, or I cannot speak for other countries, but that's what I notice in my country. Like we here in Mexico, we and I think that when you say Mexico, it's for English speakers, especially in the United States, they just think about these Mexican Americans, right? Or Mexicans living in the United States, but it's not the same because obviously Mexicans in the United States, they are under this other system, other government, other language. So of course they're going to behave differently. Some of them do good, some of them they don't, and some of them they actually become rich. Which, wow, I think that's admirable for people that were not able to make money here in their country because of the structure that doesn't allow them to do so, and they just suddenly find in a new country this kind of structures or this kind of environment in which you can thrive. And but I'm talking about the people that live here, that because it's something totally different, and I think for Americans that's actually very important because it's like maybe, yeah, they know Mexican Americans or Mexicans live in the United States, and that's the thing, but Mexicans live in Mexico, it's a total different thing. So I think that we here we are really anxious to get this narrative that it's like a guide that would lead all of the inhabitants of this country to a certain goal or a certain end, which is maybe not very clear, or which may be very vague. But I think that we kind of like have kind of a nostalgic thing towards that we want like this kind of messiah or this kind of leader, like strong leader or strong man that would lead us to a certain goal or whatever, and that he is kind of the chosen one who is able to interpret whatever thing it's prepared to us according to that narrative. So I was wondering myself, like, why we are so like prone to those kind of ideas, and why we here in not only in Mexico but in all of Hispanic America, that and not only Hispanic America, because I would exclude Brazil, but Brazil, it's actually a part of this phenomenon or this narrative of the rest of the continent, or the rest of the Hispanic portion of the continent. So we can call it either Latin America or Yeah, there's a term that is actually not really the use is not widespread. That it's I don't even know how to say it in English, but it would be Iberian America. Because if we say Iberian America, we would include Brazil, right? Because the Iberian Peninsula would include Spain and also Portugal. And so Brazil speaks Portugal. If we say Hispanic America, would only include Spanish-speaking countries. And in this Iberian America, or in this part of the continent, we tend to really wish for that, or we really want that. There's a word that I actually cannot translate right now, which is in Spanish, anhelar. We really kind of look forward for that kind of narrative, like this unified narrative that, and that's when the Messiah figure comes into place. But what happens with liberalism, and that comes from my question, or um, my question of why we are so here in Iberian America, why we are so prone to those kind of ideals, and why we're so prone to reject some other values or some other models, right? And that comes when I think about liberalism. I know that maybe the word liberals means something really different in English, or specifically for Americans. When you say liberal, you think of Democrats, you think of left wing, right? But I'm actually thinking about liberalism, about this set of ideas that have free market as one of its values, and free association, free speech, and those kind of values that comes actually to a democracy. And I think that the narrative in this kind of systems with liberalism is that it's actually the narrative is not unified. The narrative it's actually very dispersed, and every person would take its own narrative. Why? Because liberalism actually doesn't offer kind of a narrative. It actually provides certain values and certain rules or guidelines, but it wouldn't give you a narrative, or it wouldn't give you like a reason to leave or a reason to fight or whatever, right? And when we have that kind of I think that we cannot even call it a narrative, because every person has its own narrative, right? And we don't have a unified narrative or this super strong leader or kind of messiah that would lead up all of us, right? So it's like, no, you don't necessarily need a leader. You don't necessarily need somebody outside of you telling you what to do or what to think or what to value. But it's actually your own decision to do that. So liberalism gives us that space, whereas in this other space that I've been calling unified narrative, but it's actually it's an authoritarian regime. Uh, it's like well, yeah, unified. Like we don't have dispersed people doing whatever they think is convenient. Obviously, respecting certain laws, because there are, I mean, there are certain like framework in which you can uh, do whatever you think it's convenient, right? And